Be careful.
He's and Scott Higgins, both of them coked up out of their minds.
Listen to you. He's down in the basement.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I think we should call this the Acement.
The Acement, yes.
Yeah, what do you think there, huh?
I like that. The Acement Studios.
Excuse me, I'm drinking beer. Hold on a second.
We usually drink bourbon on our end.
Yeah,
when we
right.
do the podcast, so
That's all right.
feel free to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You shoot an 8-ball if you want. We don't care, as long as it's good stories.
Welcome to Behind the Funny and to the Acement live here on Wednesday night. I'm Scott Higgins.
Would you forget your name?
No, I was going to throw something different in there, and I threw myself a curveball.
Yeah, you did.
I threw myself
You
off.
threw yourself off. How many Cecito?
Yes.
Welcome to the Acement. Welcome to Behind the Funny.
We're so happy you guys joined us this week and every week. Thank you. By the way, before we continue, such an awesome month in July. You guys, like never before, really, stepped up. We appreciate the downloads. We appreciate the great reviews. Thanks to our winner of the hoodie.
Yes.
Hope you enjoy that. Sent that out this week. So hope you enjoy that once you get it. Just you guys really, the support is amazing. We're glad you guys are enjoying this because we love doing it every week. So thank you so much.
We said it in June. We were at an all-time high for downloads, and July smashed that again.
Yeah.
Yet again.
Just crazy.
Amazing. Scott sends me at the end of the month, he sends me how many downloads. And then even just so far, we're only 3 days into August.
Yeah.
And it's already on track to do even just as good as July or even better. So we really appreciate it. 5-star written reviews are coming in. So please tell your friends about us.
Yes.
If you can. Go on, what is it, Apple Podcasts? Or
anywhere
any
you download
yeah.
your podcast, really, and give us that 5-star written review. Quick one sentence is a big help. If you haven't done that yet, please do that and help out the podcast. That is the best way to help us out. It really, really is.
That and telling a friend. And we have to thank our unofficial sponsor, Jefferson's Bourbon. We thank you for getting us through this
as you do every single week.
We do have a special announcement. We have to I have to apologize.
Not totally.
Okay.
Not totally.
It was my fault 1 week or 2
I
weeks.
appreciate, if you guys have been listening, for the last few weeks, our audio has been off a little bit.
Yeah, we've had over the past few months, it's been spotty on and off with some issues. And this is why, if there are any cheap college interns,
any out-of-work engineers
who know what the hell they're doing on this.
Someone that wants to help out for free.
Yeah, basically, someone else who wants to be here on Wednesday night for no money. We have had some issues where this most recent one was we were setting all of the sound the way it was supposed to be, and the wire in one of the boxes was shorting out. And what happened was, when it would short out, it would take our voices from the microphones, these nice expensive microphones that we use for the podcast, and it would take it, and it would make the audio go through the webcam, which is 3 feet away from us. So it didn't sound good.
It would basically, when it lost the signal from the nice mixing board and audio box and everything,
all the shit that we spent money on.
Yes, all this stuff, when it would lose the signal, it would default to the 39-cent microphone that's attached to the webcam and not automatically go back. So
long story short, we apologize for the shitty sound over the past couple of episodes.
Our guest still sounded great, which the guest is the most important part of our podcast. So I'm glad that they still sounded great, and the stories were still great, but we apologize on our end. It turned out to be a true equipment malfunction.
Yeah, so
hopefully we got a handle on that finally.
I think we do. We've got a new wire, and we've tested it, and I think I checked the audio signal and the audio connection about 400 times since 6 p.m. tonight.
I would love to shit on Ace for it, but it truly is not his fault.
Yeah. Well, one time it was because I forgot to set
yes.
it, but then the thing kept shorting out and screwing up.
Yeah,
so.
But
we apologize.
We're moving on from that at this point because tonight we have an awesome guest. I'm excited about tonight, as I am every week. But
me too.
I got to work with this guy recently, and absolutely loved watching his set. Really great guy. Got to chat with him, so I was like, "Oh my god, we got to get you on the podcast."
And the last time I worked with him, and I don't know if he'll remember this, but it was me, him, and the legendary Bob Seibel.
Oh, Bob.
At the infamous Angie's Clam Shack.
That is such a New England place for comedy.
In Revere. I think I still have a picture of me and Bob. He goes, "Oh, Jesus Christ, Ace, we got to get a picture of this." And it's me and Bob. His wife, Diana, took it. And it was me and Bob on either side of the thing. And it said, "Appearing tonight, Bob Seibel, Angie's Clam Shack." And it was me and Bob and our guest tonight. So I haven't talked to him in probably that long. And honestly, that was probably about 18 years ago.
Holy crap.
I have not, we've talked about it before. When you're in comedy, you seem to like work with certain people a lot.
Yep.
And then there's other people that you don't work with. Like I think I've mentioned, like I've only worked with Don Gavin once. But I've worked with like DJ Hazard and I worked with Kevin Knox a million times. It was one of those weird things. And so this is a guy that I'm excited about because I haven't worked with him in a long time. And as Scott said, he worked with him recently and had a blast. So we would love to welcome to the Behind the Funny podcast, very funny Boston comedian, Mr. Jack Lynch. And there he is.
Hey, Jack.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
We're good.
All right. Angie's Clams. Oh my God.
You remember that gig?
Yes. I forgot all about it. I was trying to remember. I figured it was 100 years since we worked together, but I didn't know I couldn't remember which gig.
That was the last gig we worked together on. And it was funny because that day I had brought family because my sister was in town from Florida. And I said, "Oh, come to Boston. I'm going to be playing up there." And I walked them on the Freedom Trail, but I took a wrong turn and I literally walked them up the back of Beacon Hill. My sister wanted to fucking kill me by the end of the day. She goes, "I wanted to go on a tour of Boston. I didn't want to climb a goddamn mountain." And then so we were all exhausted by the time we got to the show, but it was so funny.
I love only Boston guys, New England comedians say, like, "Didn't we work at Bob's Clam Hut together?"
Exactly.
You never hear that from guys in the Midwest or West Coast. It's so funny, the places that you hear.
The kind of places that we've done comedy, right?
Exactly.
And the food was actually amazing there.
It was.
Yes. And I had gone back after. I think Peasy used to book that gig, I think.
I think it was Peasy that booked it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's too funny, right?
In Revere, Angie's Clam.
Yeah, it was like right on the Rotary.
Really?
Yeah.
On 16, It's gone now.
Is it really?
Now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. See, I haven't been up there in a long time. That is
so funny. And I'm laughing. You guys are like, are you guys sponsored by a bourbon company?
Well, we wish we were sponsored.
We're negotiating with them.
We you know what? We honestly, we drink it just because we enjoy the product itself.
Yes.
We like the product, but Scott reached out to them and said, "Hey, we talk about your product all the time, and we've had some of our listeners write in and say, 'Hey, I tried that stuff. It's really good.'" But they were talking to us for a little while, and then it just kind of the trail went dead. So. But that's all right. We're fine with it.
No, but for some reason this thought came to me when you said that. I had a buddy that got sober on a tour that was sponsored by Jameson Whiskey.
Really?
Yes. He goes, "They're sending cases to my house and I'm just giving them to the neighbor going, hey, I can't drink this. I can't. In the middle of the tour, he decided he needed to stop drinking desperately.
Right.
And but it was like like he would call me up and go, "I can't believe I got to do this." Like, it's like,
so
and he goes,
talk about it.
Right.
I said, talk about testing your fortitude.
Yeah, right.
I know.
Well, he had to walk out stage with a Coke and pretend there was Jameson in it. So it was that was part of the whole tour. There was like 4 guys on the tour. And, yeah.
Well, think
torturous.
Think about one of the classics, Foster Brooks. How many years was he doing his entire act like he was drunk, and the guy really didn't even drink?
No.
He was amazing. He still makes me laugh. I watch old clips. It kills me.
When you watch the old Dean Martin roast,
I love those.
What was funny was he would literally stand up from his seat on the dais, walk to the podium like he was stone cold sober, and it wasn't until he just leaned on the podium and then he would go into the act. And it was so funny.
It was his opening line on the Don Rickles roast when he said, I just figured out we both have something in common. We're both sleeping with your wife.
Yes, exactly.
I've seen that. Yes.
Yep.
It's just, oh my
and
God.
Rickles losing it.
I was crying, laughing during his whole set with that one. He did it so well.
Yeah.
So well.
He was amazing.
So Jack, we talked like I think honestly that was 15 years ago that we worked together at the famous Angie's Clams.
I bet
when did you start doing comedy? What was the first time?
It was 91.
Okay.
91 I did it's funny, I was hanging in the clubs before that.
Yep.
And then like in the early 80s I was hanging in the clubs, but I was drinking quite a bit, and I kept going, I'll go to the open mic, and it just never came to be.
Yeah.
And years later, I went to Catch a Rising Star in Cambridge and did my first real set.
Yep. So what made you do it? Was it friends telling you like you were funny, or it was something that you always wanted to do?
I've been obsessed with it since I was a kid.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like totally obsessed. And I remember even in middle school, in English class, the teacher asked, who knows what a monologue is? And I did, because I used to sneak out of bed to watch Carson's monologue.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably didn't understand half of it, but I love the fact this guy was talking and people were laughing.
Right.
And I used to get my friends to laugh, and I always could remember like a million street jokes. I could always do that.
Yep.
Well, it's funny you say Carson, because, we got to work together recently, and your style is very much in that vein where your jokes are very, very well written, and you have that very conversational style with the crowd, you know what I mean? And in the way you tell your jokes, all you needed to add at the end was pulling on your collar thing. But no, just the way you engage the crowd, and you're just kind of having a conversation with them, almost like you're at a party and you're standing in the living room and you're telling everybody kind of a story, and it's very comfortable, and it's very funny, and it's very enjoyable and everything like that.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me of that old school style that like a Carson had.
Yeah, and that was always my favorite. I actually had a guy say to me one time, he said, he looks like you're on stage, you looks like you're holding court. Like everyone.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect.
That's it was funny. One of the people that helped me write one of my earlier bios said the same thing. They were like, you're like the guy at every party who holds court in the living room.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's your style is very much like mine. It's just it's talking as if the audience is just a bunch of friends. Right.
Yeah.
And you're just talking to them, telling stories.
It's just very comfortable in the moment, and just commands the room very, very easily.
Yeah, and it's always been my favorite style. Like I didn't realize I was doing it, but like the way Tonight Show comics would be, they try to get more laughs per. So I wrote in the style that like the one-liners that I kind of thread together into a bit. So it's always been my favorite style. And because, I didn't even realize I was doing it until somebody pointed it out.
Yep.
I just thought, this is my favorite stuff. The stuff, get to the point quick. Let's do this.
Right.
Right. Unlike some of us who tell a 15-minute story like me.
Hey,
but I try and get laughs in between in the stories.
We all have our style.
Yeah.
We all have our style.
All right. I'm shitting on myself.
Now, besides
Go ahead.
That's what
besides Carson, who were the other comics that influenced you? Like you said, you knew as a kid you wanted to do it, but there must have been other comics besides like Carson that influenced you.
Well, I loved Carlin, obviously. Carlin Pryor.
Yeah.
And as far as local guys, like I remember seeing Leno when he was like just starting to blow up.
Really?
Yeah, and he was an incredible writer. He used to do Knicks. He did Knicks, and he'd do some, he was always selling out at that point too.
Right. Well, like you said, you were going to the clubs back in the early 80s. So yeah,
Right.
that must have been. Now, did you go to like the Ding Ho and places like
Yes.
that? Or yeah.
I was hanging out at the Ding
Wow.
Ho when like Jimmy Tingle was the bartender, Mike Clark was the door guy.
Wow.
And it used to be Sunday night. Sweeney used to have a show.
Yep.
His nickname at the time was Character King. He'd do a one-man show. You know, he'd have like usually like DJ Hazard, I think a lot of times was there on Sundays.
Yep.
Kind of doing a short set up front. And then Sweeney would do like an hour and 15 and do all these different voices and characters. Yeah, because he was coming off. He was trying to be an actor initially, and that's how he get into comedy.
Right.
So, and yeah, Tingle at the bar. Yeah. But like I saw so many guys. I like saw Stephen Wright, like when he's first starting out, he would stare at the wall. He wouldn't even look at the crowd, and and doing his set. And he was always just hysterical.
Right.
Just so bizarre. And he couldn't look at the crowd.
Really?
Cat Goldthwait was here then.
Yep.
Dennis Leary. It was all these guys, and a lot of the guys that were going to Emerson, which was Leary and I'm trying to think who else. Mike Bent.
Yep. We had Mike on.
Yeah, Mike's awesome. Yeah,
A couple of
Great
months
magician.
ago. What?
Great
Paul,
magician. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Paula Poundstone, right?
Oh yeah,
She was one of those people too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy. I can't imagine what it must have been like. Like I started in '89, but I was down in Providence, so it was always periwinkles. I didn't get up to Boston until probably '93, '94 before I felt comfortable enough to go up.
Yeah. And the Ding Ho, I think it closed by '85.
Yeah, that's what they said. It really wasn't around that long, right?
Yeah, a few years, and the guy Shun Lee, he owned a lot of back taxes, so they got there one day and it was all locked up.
That's what we heard.
The city took it. Yeah. And did you ever hear about? I mean, you've probably heard the whole story, the decor and how it was set up.
Yeah. Because wasn't it like a country western
like a
bar
saloon
before it was that?
Yeah.
So
I think Jimmy Tingle told us.
I think Jimmy Tingle said it because I was like, I always wondered why they said it had like saloon doors in a Chinese restaurant and wagon wheel chandeliers. That's
and it was
crazy.
in a Portuguese neighborhood.
Was it?
Yes. Which made it even crazier.
Oh my God. You like the Charisse fried rice?
Yes. And there was a lot of alcohol, and they had a great jukebox too with a lot of great music on it too.
Really? Oh my God.
Yeah, it was.
So where did you grow? Where did you grow up? Did you grow up?
I grew up in north of Boston, in Woburn.
All right. Yeah.
You lived in Woburn?
No, I lived in Wakefield for about 3 or 4 years.
Oh yeah.
Back in the late '90s. So
I didn't even know that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I grew up there. But I haven't lived in Woburn in over 30 something years.
Wow.
But and we had a couple of carloads of us that used to go there at least Sunday night and then some other nights. And when I first went to the Ding Ho, like my friend took me and I was obsessed. I was just going like 3 nights a week. I would memorize people's acts and tell my friends what the jokes were. And I was crazy. My friends thought I was nuts. I just couldn't stop going there.
Yep. So now you grew up in Woburn. Did you have siblings?
Yeah, 3 siblings, three younger sisters. I'm the oldest.
Oh wow,
I'm the only boy. Yeah,
one of the few. We've been doing this this is our 5th year, and we could count on one hand the number of comics that are the oldest. Yeah, of the siblings.
Most times the comics are the middle or the baby, middle child or babies, because we were screaming for attention. And the oldest is usually like the rocket scientist, the lawyer, the doctor.
Hey, don't rub it into the poor guy.
Well, I'm sorry.
Look at where he's sitting. It's like an attic somewhere.
I know. I'm sorry.
I am. I call it a penthouse suite. But,
there you go.
I do have skylights over here, so
all right. Yeah, you can see the stars. Yeah, he's an astrophysicist.
He failed out of MIT, so he's in.
Well, no, like we talked to like Tom Cotter, and Tom, it's like his older brother is an admiral, another one, his father was like a famous neurosurgeon. And he goes, and here I am telling dick jokes. It's like,
exactly.
Well, the funny thing about that is, I have a sister that everyone always assumed was older than me because she's much more mature.
Yeah, right.
Sounds right.
She's a college professor.
Is she really? Oh,
yeah.
wow.
She's the next one in line. Yeah.
That's
she's
too
my
funny.
You're closest in age to me.
So were you funny as a kid? Like, did you make neighborhood kids laugh and stuff like that?
Yeah, all my friends I made laugh all the time, and especially like if we had, either sleepovers or would be sleeping out in someone's backyard in a tent.
Yeah.
I would just be up all night telling jokes, and I was just. The funny thing is, I was like that in my neighborhood, but I got out of my neighborhood, and I would just shut down. If I was with a bunch of people I didn't know, people were like, "Oh, Jack's funny," and I would just go, "No, I'm not." Like,
yeah, right. You needed to feel comfortable with people before you would start coming out of your shell and doing it. I was the same way. Same way. Once I got comfortable with you, I was a clown. I would start doing voices and impressions and shit like that.
Yeah.
But it took a while for me to feel comfortable enough. My friends thought I was funny, but it would take a while if I was in front of other people. So very similar. Yeah. We're like twins, Jack. Only you're just a little bit taller than me. How tall are you?
I'm 6'1".
Yeah, I'm 5'6".
Just slightly.
just a little bit.
Slightly.
We're like Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger in Twins.
How do you think I felt? I'm doing the show with him and Jim McHugh.
Oh Jesus! Yeah, it's like you're with the basketball team. You're the ball boy.
Oh yeah. Literally washing their balls as I go up.
And I couldn't believe, Scott, like that's the first time I met you. Like,
yeah.
Really? I've seen you on social media. I've always heard about you from Dan Hirshon, and like, yes, I'd always heard stuff, and I've never met you. And
we talk about that all the time. It's so funny that on social media you see people, your friends, if you will, with people on social media.
Yeah.
So you almost feel like you know them, and then all of a sudden you meet someone face to face and realize, I've never met you before.
Right.
Yet I know you. I've seen you. I've watched clips of you and everything like that. So I feel like we've known each other for years.
Right.
That's
too funny.
And now, because of the Zoom stuff, there's some people I've met on Zoom that I never met in person.
Right.
And I end up going to this party one day, and so I'm thinking, wow, now's the time. The only time we can say, wow, so good to see your lower half. It's now acceptable. Right.
And
it's now acceptable. Like, what the hell?
Not get slapped for it. Yeah.
Can't say that in the workplace, though.
No. Not in every place.
They frown at that.
Yeah, they tend to.
Unbuttoning here.
Hey,
I was going to say, hey, it wasn't that kind of show, but we could turn it into that.
Exactly.
Whatever works. I'm not going to frown on anything.
Thank God he's in the attic. He can't stand up because he's not telling us he's not wearing pants.
Now, you said you did your first show. Was it Played Against Sam's?
No, I'm not. Catch a Rising Star.
Catch a Rising Star. I'm sorry. Now, how did that first time go for you? Do you remember?
It went pretty good. The funny part is, who was hosting was David Cross.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow. See, I never got to work with him before he left. I didn't get there until after. But so many guys talk about him being in Boston before he moved away.
Yeah, because I think he was an Emerson guy too.
Yeah.
And so I memorized 10 minutes because I knew I was going to forget half of it.
Yep.
And, my opening line was, I just said, I'm a little nervous. Does anyone have any Valium? And that wasn't planned. And it got a laugh, and I just started to calm down. But then I sped through my jokes like this. Yeah. And then Cross outroed me. I did the hackiest joke. One of the jokes was like the closing thing. I said, you know what I like in a woman? Me. And then and it was the hackiest joke. And he goes, you know what I like in a woman? A little bit of Jack Lynch. And he goes, hey, kid, great jokes, but slow it down.
Yeah, really? Oh,
yes.
My God.
Yeah, because I was just...
But that was enough that night to kind of set the hook, and that was it. You were in after that, right?
Yeah. And I always equated it, when I was first going to open mics and meeting a bunch of people, and I always it reminded me of when you're in line for a roller coaster. Like, it's this crazy roller coaster. You see people screaming, it's going nuts, and you're in line going, shit, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And then you get on it, and then you want to do it again. And that's kind of what I felt like to me.
Right.
Because I would be so anxious, nervous, crazy. I couldn't think straight. People talking to me, it was like Charlie Brown, the teacher's voices. And I would do it, and then...
That's a great analogy. That's the roller coaster.
roller coaster,
great
yeah.
analogy for that. We haven't had anybody that explained it like that before. But you're right.
That's exactly.
Especially
what
that
it was
first time you're waiting and waiting, and you want to throw up, and you're scared, and you can't believe it, and then they finally call your name to walk on stage, and that's the click, 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 click of the bar coming down to lock you in place, and then you go. Too late now. There's no getting off, so you just do it, and then afterwards, it's so exhilarating. If you get any laughs at all, you're like, "Oh my god, this was the greatest thing I ever did."
And how many times when you get off the roller coaster, you're like, your adrenaline rush is still going, and that's how it is with the show.
That was,
it's amazing how you'll like do a show. And then I'm up for like another 2 hours if I had a good show.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this. This was so great, And
if I had a bad show, I'm up for another 5 hours.
Can't believe that shit happened, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Kicking the shit out of myself for 5 hours.
So many nights I'm quitting,
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I've quit 1,000 times before.
Well, I remember the first couple of years, like I would go home and I couldn't sleep at night. I was driving my girlfriend crazy. I was like, I'd be wired, blah, 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 and then all of a sudden I'd be out like a light, finally come down from it.
That was my ex-wife was the same way. I'd get in bed. Oh my God. And then this happened. And then this lady off to the right. And you like replay the whole show over in your mind, and because you're all jacked up over it,
It's kind of like sex.
Well, yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
You're all jacked up, and then all of a sudden
it's over.
Good night.
Yeah.
All right. But and the funny part about it is at that point when I started, I was like 6 years sober, and I ended up. People would be doing shots. I'd be with people in the green room or whatever, or off to the side. They're doing shots. I found this thing that if I ate a turkey sandwich about a little bit before, it calmed me down. So
really?
So the comments would joke, Jack, you don't want a turkey sandwich? Yeah, it became a joke.
So you did all your drinking and partying before you became a comic?
Yes.
Wow, that must have been even tougher, because we've obviously spoken with a lot of comics who've gotten sober, but it was while they were comics,
right?
Like comedy. Right. We all know comedy can put you in situations where, to your point, you're drinking a lot, you're, shots are flowing and stuff like that. So the fact that you got sober even before, did you find that it was difficult being in those situations when everyone was doing shots, or had you already kind of gotten over that hump where you didn't feel the pressure anymore?
Yeah, I think at that point I was in a pretty good place.
Yep.
Pretty comfortable with myself and my skin, and the focus was just doing my set, and
it was working.
Yeah, and it's and one of the guys that really encouraged me was Tingle. Tingle was living in New York City at the time. He was living in New York, and I called him up and I said, I'm thinking about doing this, and he's like, you should. He goes, you get sober to do the things you want to do, and I'm like, yeah, you're right, and he just kind of gave me a sense of how I put the jokes in some kind of order that made sense. And so he was encouraging, and he called and got me some spots,
So you just from hanging out, you already knew a lot of the comics before you even stepped on stage.
Yeah, I knew Lenny, I knew Sweeney.
Oh wow.
I knew Jimmy, DJ. And there was a guy hanging out there, Martin Olson was a piano player.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
At the time he was he's awesome.
Well, I don't know if you heard our intro music, but there's a point where you hear a guy go, excuse me, I'm drinking beer because he burped. And we go, oh, that's all right. We're drinking bourbon. Don't worry. And he starts laughing. That was Martin. We had Martin Olson on last year. We love that great. Dude.
Yes.
We had never met him. And by the end of the podcast, we were like, he goes, God, if I ever get to the East Coast, I want to grab a beer with you guys. Like, just one of the nicest, most down-to-earth people I've ever met.
He was so cool.
Online. And we weren't even doing this.
No.
We were literally just on a phone with him.
Yeah.
Oh,
cool.
He was so great. But yeah, he told all these stories about how, I went to the West Coast, and then, I came back and I brought Don Gavin out, and I came back and I brought Ken Rogerson out. I'm like, dude, you're like the Sacagawea of Boston comedy. You took everyone out across the country, you know.
You know who mentioned you, Jack, when Ace posted we were having you on the podcast this week? Mike Donovan complimented you.
Yes.
He complimented you and said that you were a very good, solid comedian.
Which we already knew, but it was great, you know, to hear from Mike, who like we had on a couple of years ago. You know?
And Mike's one of the most well-respected comedians in Boston.
Absolutely.
You know, so, you know, and he spoke highly of you too. So, I mean, you made a lot of great connections over the years, and a lot of people that respect you, obviously.
Yeah. Mike is he's a joke machine. I just see the bits, just every time I see him, the bits get longer and longer.
Yeah.
With a million punchlines, tag. It's just, he's amazing to watch.
He told us too. He would be on a 3-hour drive to a gig, and he would be just constantly reciting his act, constantly reciting, getting the beats, getting the inflections. Everything was just perfect the way he wanted to do it. You know,
when he talked about his process, his work ethic towards perfecting the joke.
Mm-hmm.
Of just constantly going over it till he knew every syllable, every letter, every breath he took in that joke from beginning to end was just amazing to listen to a master craftsman like that. The way he put it together was so much fun and so interesting to listen to.
Yeah.
And the energy, and obviously he had so many sports jokes, you know.
Oh
my God.
He's like he's the sports guy.
And now look at all the books he writes.
I know, it's crazy. All the history books.
Who writes a book on Russian history?
I know, yeah. I think I'll write a book on Russian history. Right.
I think I'll write a book on Russian history, said no one ever.
Yeah, right. But he did, yeah.
Guy's amazing.
Jack, let me ask you this, and
sure.
if it's entirely up to you if you want to answer this, because we've talked to other comics again who have gotten sober.
Yeah.
What made you get to that point where you were like, I can't do this anymore?
It's not the funniest story.
No, listen, no, but again, this podcast is called Behind the Funny because we really want to get behind, we're all funny on stage, but what is that person like off stage? What have they gone through? I mean, we talked to Amy T. I know, I'm sure you know Amy T.
Oh yeah.
And Amy told us the story of like the rock bottom she hit, where she was like, I did a show in New Jersey and I woke up in a fireplace in Manhattan the next morning. And she said, I can't do this anymore. So everyone seems to have that, that point where they got to, and they were like, no, I can't do this anymore to myself.
Yeah. And for me, it was, I think I had tried a handful of times, like, I'd do something embarrassing or something like that. But the last straw was I had a very dear friend of mine took his own life drunk.
Really? Wow.
And a guy I grew up with, like 4 houses down, he was like a big brother to me. And, and I quickly, within a couple of months, like, kind of ruminating and thinking about what had happened and what was going on, realized that I was in the same loop. And this was going nowhere. And
you didn't want to be the next person.
Right. And some people would call that a spiritual awakening. I don't know what it was, but I remember just looking at this can in my hand going, oh, this is what's wrong. Like, and just the things just seemed to line up perfectly. And I had to go away to treatment. I tried to stop on my own and I couldn't, and it scared the crap out of me. Because I couldn't stop, because at that point I was physically dependent. I got violently pretty sick and anxious, and my heart would race, and so I had to go inpatient and be supervised. And
really, how long? It was the best thing I ever did. How long were you in?
10 days. 10 days.
Yep.
And the interesting thing is, it was kind of very, I don't know, maybe serendipitous, but I had great insurance in the 80s. You could have went anywhere. There was 30-day rehabs, like, and insurance was paying everything.
Yeah.
People were doing but in my mind, I called this place. There's a place in Waltham that's gone now, Waltham, Mass. And they said, well, we have a 10-day program. And I thought, oh, good, I'll go there because it's quicker. I want the quick one because I got stuff to do. That's how I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And, I really didn't. I mean, I had a job, but, the most important thing was saving my life.
Yeah.
Right. But so I go there, and it turns out it's a state hospital detox. So almost all the people I'm there with, it's January, are there off the streets. They're like homeless. They have nowhere to go.
Right.
And again, I went, oh, this is as good as it gets.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Because I saw that, and like people would bring me up sandwiches and stuff. My friends would bring me subs, and the whole room would drool because they served one meal. If you didn't like it, you didn't eat.
Right.
And but yeah, and then even when they said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going home." Oh, you have a place to live. You're lucky. That's good. Like just all the things that I heard.
Yeah.
It just clicked, and
you realize just how lucky you were.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And it was petrifying. It's kind of working without my my social lubricant or whatever at first.
Yeah.
Trying to do anything, and eventually, I gained my confidence back. And then and especially doing comedies. When I started doing comedy, I get more confident doing a lot of different things in my life. Just the fact that I walked through that fear, I thought, even if I never do it again, I tried. So,
right.
And that was kind of my thought process.
That's great. And you didn't just, quit and, overcome that for yourself. You turn that into something where you help other people.
Yeah. What I learned early on too, it started off at the meetings and stuff where if I was having a bad day for whatever reason, I learned early, if I found a guy that's 2 days sober sitting on his hands going, how do you do this?
Yeah.
I would feel better really quickly. Because this person is going to remind me, I'm trying to get the reflection on my glasses a little better.
That's all right. Don't worry about
it. I know, but it kept like look at that there, it's shining. So,
I was too into the story to even notice.
I know.
That.
I didn't even notice. Don't worry about it.
So, so I learned that helping others got me out of my own head. It got me out of my selfishness or whatever it was, my self-absorbed ruminating or whatever it was. And then, eventually with comedy, I was traveling on the road for a while, for a bunch of years, and fast forward, going to meetings out of town, different places. That was the cool thing. I could instantly go to a town, walk into a meeting, and just have friends like that, just because they know I'm a sober guy, and I met a lot of sober comics on the road, but eventually I morphed into going back to school and getting an addiction counselor license, and the last 14 years I've been working in the field.
Wow.
Helping addicts, mostly dual diagnosis programs, folks with severe mental illness and addiction
alcohol issues. Yeah, right. Or not just alcohol. I shouldn't say that because it could be other addictions, right?
Yeah, and it's I feel lucky because I was able to morph into it, and I kind of burnt out from the business part of it, and I was traveling a lot, and then it got to a point where club owners changed, the booker changed. Oh, I don't know who you are. Can you send me this? And it was
all over again. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I was playing this club when you were in high school, and now you're booking it, and you haven't seen me. Yes. But okay, here's my fucking video tape. That's how long ago I'm talking about.
Here's my press kit again.
Here's my press kit. Here's my I know.
And there was a night I was on stage at West Palm Beach, the Comedy Corner, and I don't know. It was probably 2007. And I'm killing, and I just was like. In my head, I'm like, I just want to be home. I just, all of a sudden, I just didn't care anymore.
Yep.
And I do, and I do it now, but I'm doing it more for fun and I don't care. And
right. Yeah.
I'm having way more fun with it now because I don't care who's in the crowd. It's a different,
Yeah,
it's a different energy, and I have something else to fall back on, and I'm not going to drive to Bangor for $200.
Right. Well, and I think
wait a minute, who books that?
Yeah, who
Banger
books that?
for $200? Who books that?
I could be there in 5 hours.
Yeah. We'll pay you a patty melt and a set of fries if you do well.
Exactly.
Can you refer us, Jack? Can you give me a reference?
Yeah. I got a connection in Skowhegan, Maine. So.
Yeah. We'll take it. We'll put you up in a tent behind the club. It's weird when you put it into perspective. And I think, and this is not to shit on clubs, but
Yeah.
clubs aren't as important as they used to be.
No.
Like,
Right.
remember when we started, it was like, oh my God, you got to get in with this club or get in with that
Yes.
club. And now it's like, all right, if this club doesn't want to book me, fine. I don't care. I don't hold any hard feelings. There's club owners and bookers that don't book me that I still consider I'm friends with. I like them. I don't dislike them because they don't book me. I don't care. I'll get other work. You know what I mean? And honestly, now I get more work through theaters and fundraisers.
My
Right.
25-year-old daughter asked me if I watched the latest Bo Burnham special. Bo Burnham got famous by YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched
yeah.
the special.
He's a multi-million-dollar comic now.
Yep.
Yes.
So the clubs, while I love doing clubs and I love the crowds and I love the energy, it's so much fun. You know,
like working the
let's
clubs.
be honest, you're
Yeah.
not gonna get on the Tonight Show or anything else from clubs anymore.
No.
Right.
No.
It's not what it used to be.
Yeah. And the clubs, the money's less, and then it's also
right.
in some ways a lot of times the comedy clubs are the worst place to do comedy because it's all about get the drinks out,
Yeah.
get the food out, get this out, get the checks out. Oh, by the way, there's 3 knuckleheads on stage. Like that's
right.
It's like an afterthought,
And especially like, if you're like one of the first comics or the second, even the feature at a restaurant that does comedy, it's some of the toughest time because the audience isn't settled down until the headliner gets on because they're still getting their drinks. They're still getting their food. You know what I mean? And then by the time, they settle down and they realize there's a show going on, the headliner's up. So the feature and the opener just fucking, got trashed for 45 minutes trying to start the show, trying to warm up the crowd, and sometimes it makes you look bad as the feature or the opener.
Ace is right. Give me a theater show any day of the week.
Yep.
The show starts at this time.
100%.
They're sitting down. They're all facing you. They're all paying attention.
Yep.
Show starts. Everyone's listening. You don't get heckled really in a theater show.
Yeah.
Right. They're not dropping silverware.
You're right.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about the checks hitting the table in the middle of your set.
Clanging dishes.
Any of that. Someone breaking a glass in the back of the room.
Honestly, I did a gig a couple of months ago at a theater, and it was like one of the movie theater. It was up north, and I'm actually going to be at one of them this weekend. But they dropped the checks early, and all of a sudden, some guy, like this whole table breaks out into a fucking discussion over the check, and I'm like, dude. Why am I still up here? I should have just done like 30 minutes instead of my 45 to close the show. I should have done 30 so you guys could argue over your fucking checks.
Hey, I'm doing my first weekend at that club next month. Don't talk bad about it.
No, I'm not talking bad. Listen, I appreciate the work.
They can bring the check out anytime they want when I'm on stage. I can
blaming
handle
the booker. I'm blaming the fucking audience.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story at Nick's. One time, Sweeney's closing, and a table's arguing over the check. And Sweeney got so furious, he took the check and said, "Don't worry about it, I got it." And it was like a couple $100 check or whatever.
Yeah,
but he just wanted them to shut up. It was pissing him off so much.
I probably would have done the same thing.
That's great.
I am not getting paid. I'm going to take my money that I'm making tonight and I'm paying your check just so you shut the fuck up.
That's a good segue into we like to ask people for some
moments first.
Standout moments.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to ask for bad gig. I was going to say kind of some standout, some wow moments. Some of those, because you've had quite a long career and you've worked with some amazing people. What were some of those moments where you had to kind of like just kind of take it in, like, I can't believe I'm here, or I can't believe I'm working with this person, or some of those moments that were just like, this is awesome.
The awesome one, not the awful stuff.
Yeah, we save that for the end because that's the best part.
The awful stuff at the end. We like to make you feel good before you feel shitty about yourself.
It's kind of like when the boss brings you in the office and he starts with what you're doing well before he tells you the shitty job you're doing. We want the good we want the good first.
Right, and Stewie calls it the compliment sandwich.
Yes.
Compliment sandwich.
Very well done, sir. Well done.
Here's what you're doing great.
What do you
remind me of Snoopy that makes me smile.
It's like,
Stewie, what do you mean what I'm doing great?
oh no, you're doing this awesome.
Yeah.
Which one are you talking about?
Which?
I'm trying to think. There's been a lot too. There's been ones that I'm so mad. Like some of them that I didn't get pictures, or like I did a week with Tommy Chong, which was I grew up listening to Cheech and Chong.
Yep.
Right.
And I was dropping him off at his hotel room every night. I'm like, what the,
Yeah.
But that was a trip. But he was the sweetest man.
Yep.
And
it sucks when you've been doing it this long, and we never carried like cameras around before there was a phone camera. You didn't think to bring a camera to take pictures with people, you know?
Right. And then I did. Trying to think. Like in the early 90s, I worked with like Damon Wayans. I worked with Tommy. I'm trying to think. There's been a bunch of Bobby Collins, who was really big at the time.
Yep. We had Bobby on a couple of months ago.
Oh, you did?
Bobcat?
Yeah. I had worked with Bobcat a bunch of times, especially in Florida. I was working Florida a lot. And,
really?
Yeah, Bobcat. I'm trying to think. Stanhope, like just as he was blowing up. Geraldo, I worked with a couple of times.
Oh, wow.
Great guy.
Yeah, and he was like, we were going to the beach every day, and he was just writing. He just had the recorder in his hand, and would just, and he said something to me that made me. I grew up. True story. Both my parents are deaf, and so he talks about being his dad was from Colombia, and and so he hears me saying this, and he goes, I don't. Why don't you talk about that in your act? And for me, I was like, I don't know, that like I didn't want personal stuff out there. It was weird, but he convinced me, and so that was 1999 or so, 2000, and so I added that stuff to my act. But and I'm just, all the weird stuff, like getting Damon Wayans asked me to get him chapstick because the crowd was right outside the door, and he didn't want it. He's like, this is going to be the weirdest request. I'm like, what? And then he goes, I'm not trying to be a dick. He goes, would you mind? He goes, my lips, my fucking sunburned or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Oh my God.
I'm trying to think. Like Jeff Dunham a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Wow.
Especially in Florida.
Really?
That's crazy. You mentioned Tommy Chong. My favorite story that we've had on the podcast about Tommy Chong was Dana Nathanson. She managed the Comedy Connection in Providence. Yeah. And Dana said when she was managing, they had Tommy Chong there one time. And she was up in the office when he was doing his last show on Saturday night. And she comes downstairs after the show had ended, and like there's nobody down there. The staff, nobody. And she's like, where the hell is everybody? She finds her entire staff in the basement with Tommy Chong getting high with Tommy. And
that's awesome.
And she's like, Tommy, I don't mind my staff getting high with you, but could you have let them cleaned up and put the chairs up first before they did this?
Yeah, club was still in disarray.
They're sitting in a circle Indian style on the floor in the basement getting high with Tommy Chong. I'm like, but if I'm on your staff, I am totally doing that.
Yeah, that's worth getting fired.
That is the greatest story I am telling everybody at that point.
Yeah, he was so sweet too. Like there was a point the owner of the club said, they're in the green room. You stay over here. And like the second night, Tommy's like, where are you guys? Well, we're over here. And he goes, no, come in the green room. Like he insisted we sit with him and his wife.
I've worked with a couple of, national headliners that were like that with a club.
Well, didn't you say Panette?
Panette was like that.
Right.
I work with Panette too. Yeah.
They're like, don't go in the green room. He's in there with his manager. Just leave them alone. That's their room. You stay out here at the table. So I stayed outside at the table because he just does an opener and him. He didn't do like a 3-person show.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting outside and all of a sudden his manager comes out. He goes, are you the opener tonight? I said, yeah. He goes, John wants you to come in the green room. So I go in the green room and he introduces himself. He says, why are you sitting out there? And I said, the manager said to give you your space. And he goes, no, you're a comic. This is a green room. We hang out in the green room. He started talking with me and we ended up doing 5 shows that weekend together. I was only scheduled to do the one night. And then he asked me to finish the weekend with him in Boston and everything. And he was a sweetheart of a guy. And just, because there are a few of these guys that didn't forget when they were in that position.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And
he was amazing.
He was too. Bobby Collins was always really, really good to me. And I think one of the things that helped with that was one of the first times I worked with him, either the first or second show, we're talking, and he has a special needs daughter, and he found out my wife was a special education teacher, and he gets up and walks over and hugs me. And I go, what is that for? He goes, you need to go home and give that to your wife because she's an angel for what she does. And that was it. He just took a liking to me after that. So, you know, it just, there's so many cool people that you get to meet in these experiences. That's one of the best parts of getting to do this, is not only the times on stage where we connect with the crowds and have those great nights, you meet some of these other people like that is like, you know, where we connect with them, that is like so cool.
Yeah, it's and you know, and most of the time everyone's great. I mean, just really cool and just helpful, and you know.
And occasionally you do work with someone that's not so nice, and you don't have to name any names, but you know, that's happened, right?
Do you have a story about a not so nice person who couldn't remain nameless?
Or if you want to drop their name, we don't give a shit. We've had people. We've had people talk trash.
Do you know Cal Verducci?
Oh yes. I haven't seen him in years.
Yeah.
Cal's the one that
Cal dropped more fucking names on that podcast.
Cal helped me get started. He's the reason that I'm doing comedies, because he introduced me to people.
So blame Cal.
But when Cal was
Cal had
on,
his issues too.
Oh yeah, and you know what? I'll give him this much. He'll admit it. He'll totally admit his issues. But when he was on, he's like, I'll say that guy's a dick. I don't care. And he says the guy's name. He does not care.
Yeah. Oh my God!
I remember doing a show with him, and someone was headlining. He goes, "Why is this guy headlining? I never heard of him."
Oh yeah.
And he's never heard of you, Cal. I know. I love Cal. He's so funny.
It's such a weird business.
It is. He was mad one night when there was a headliner who wanted to sell stuff after the show, and Cal tries to sell stuff, and the headliner complained that he was selling stuff, and Cal's like, "Oh, like your shit's any better than my shit?" You know, he goes, they didn't even like your set, you know, like they're gonna buy your shit anyway, and he's just going
and
off
when he was
about
on
it.
And when he was on the podcast, he was like, "Yeah, fuck that guy."
Yes,
that's funny.
I'm like, I'm so glad you don't hold grudges.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, and then sometimes you just catch people on a bad night. I've told the story before. Very first time I worked with Kevin Meaney, he wasn't nice to me. And then I worked with him a bunch of times after, and he was a sweetheart. Yeah, and I ended up finding out that, you know, he had just his driver was late, or his limo was late, and he didn't get down to Providence in time, and he was just not in a good mood when he got there. And that was the first time I worked with him. But then 4 or 5 other times I worked with him, he was absolute sweetheart. Was like, you know, let's go out after, you know, and hang out. And, you know, at the old Comedy Connection in Faneuil Hall, you know, we'd go to Frog's Lane, you know, the restaurant behind it after, and just hang out after. And it was so much fun. You know, he was just such a down to earth guy.
You never know.
But you catch him on a bad night, you know, that's how it is.
It happens.
You know, so what have you been doing during COVID? Did you do any Zoom shows, or, you know?
I did one Zoom show, and the only reason I agreed to do it was a recovery Zoom show.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they did it really well. They had the board of directors of this organization that's in Mass. They had their mics on, but everybody else was muted.
Yep.
And so I could hear the
board laughing.
Them. Right. And then I heard, and then the everyone else that had signed on would just write, "Hey, great joke. That was funny. Keep going." You know, that kind of thing.
And you didn't have to hear the distractions that might be in the background, because that happens on some of those shows, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Some of it's awful. And I just tried to look at, it's radio. All right. I'm just going to do my time, and I'm just going to, pace myself. And it went well, but I've been doing shows in person since November. We've been doing them up in New Hampshire. McHugh's been doing them.
Yeah.
Like every weekend. And we did some in Connecticut, and there was a couple we did in Maine during COVID. And
Yeah. So were you recently, have you been at City Winery in Boston?
Yes, I was just there last week. Yeah.
Was it? How was it? Because I did a show there pre-COVID with Tony V and Dustin Chafin, who was started in Boston, but now he's down in Texas. And it was a very small crowd, but they were fantastic.
Yeah, it's a fun room. Yeah, the last one I did last week, there was a small crowd.
Yeah.
The one I did before, we were in the bigger room.
Okay.
And actually that was even in the middle of, that was maybe May, so they still had limited seating, but we had like 85 or something like that.
Oh, wow. That's great, though. That's fantastic. That's a great room.
Yeah, they were all spread out. And then, it's been good doing the shows. You know, we did theater in Connecticut a couple of times during
What'd you
COVID.
do? Was it Bridge Street?
No, it's
no, they haven't done shows yet.
Oh, really? They still haven't opened up.
Bridge Street hasn't done shows yet.
Catherine Hepburn Theater. In
Oh,
Old
yeah,
Saybrook.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a great little theater.
I've heard that's fantastic.
Jim had me there a couple years ago before the pandemic, and that was a fun show.
Right, and that show cracked me up because they were in the theater. The crowd was sitting so close to themselves. I mean, they did it really well. We all had our own microphones.
Yep.
And they made sure that. And then the crowd had to wear their masks the whole show. So the whole show I heard. I felt like I was telling jokes to hostages. Yeah. Just like people with their mouths duct taped. Like, that's the weirdest thing. And I kept making fun of them.
Lighten the mood.
I kept making fun of you. You guys are hostages. I just got to make you laugh. That's all I got to do. Keep you alive. You know.
Oh, that's
it was
awesome.
fun. It was fun, man.
That's awesome.
I did that show with Joe Yannetti. Jim McHugh had Joe Yannetti and I down there, and we had a blast.
I haven't played there yet.
It's a fun little theater. It's not a huge theater.
Yeah,
it's not a huge theater, but it's
was it a couple of hundred seats?
Yeah, maximum maybe like 250 seats. Would you say, Jack?
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. It's got a nice small balcony. It's nice.
Yeah, but it's well laid out. It's perfect for comedy.
Yeah,
it's perfect for comedy. So, and there was a little old woman that took care of the refreshments in the back area. Yeah, she's like, "Do any of you guys like brownies?" And we're like, "No, we're all set with the brownies." What the hell do they have me buy these for? She was bitching because she had brownies.
She was pissed about it. Oh my god!
We were just eating the fruit that was back there.
I know the lady you're talking. I know the woman you're talking about. She's very sweet.
She was very nice. She's
always got
nice.
Sweet, snacks and stuff.
They have a whole table of snacks out and everything. They were awesome. They just really like comedy there.
It's a nice green room too. Yeah.
Yes.
That whole area is fun, man. Great restaurants, everything. I love it down there.
It's a beautiful area down there in Old Saybrook.
Yep.
Yeah. It's really nice. So, and then we did Jim's room at
McHugh's, right?
Yeah.
The
Roundabout Diner in Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Yep.
He's got a nice little room that he's been building up there. We had a fun crowd, great food at the Roundabout Diner. It's that old home cooking type of food, and a fun room.
Yeah.
So Jim's doing a lot of great things with
awesome.
comedy.
I gotta reach out to him
north. So definitely people check out follow Jim McHugh on social media and check out some of his shows. You can see Jack Lynch and where Jack's performing, because Jack does a bunch of Jim shows. And, Jim asked me if I wanted to come back and do the Roundabout again. And I definitely want to, because I had fun that night. I had a lot of fun, so definitely.
It's a blast, and it's a good sized room and everything.
Yeah, exactly. So let's now that we've had all this warm and huggy and wow moments,
talking about
like
the fun stuff.
Let's get to the meat of it.
Let's go really behind the funny.
Yeah.
Speaking of sad stories, you were worried about telling us a sad story about recovery and hitting bottom, but let's talk about hitting bottom in comedy, because we've all done it. We actually, and we keep talking about it. We need to put it out again. In our first season, we did a show. And we had a panel of other comics, and we basically tried to come up with the top 10 situations that comics are in, where when you walk in, if any of these situations are there, it's going to be a bad gig. And so we couldn't even narrow it down to 10. We had 12 situations where, because it's amazing how people think comedy can just be put anywhere. And so, this is fine. Yeah, don't worry about the Bruins being on TV in the playoffs. We'll mute the TVs. You'll be fine.
Why didn't you tell me you needed a microphone?
Yeah, right.
You
shit like that. So it's amazing that the situations that we're put in by people as comics. So we always like to ask our guests to end the show about a funny bad gig story. And that is not, it wasn't funny that night. You want to probably quit comedy that night. But the further away you get from it, you realize, wow, this is so bad, it's funny. And so when you're in the green room talking to other comics, you're like, someone will tell you a funny story about a shitty gig they had. And then you're like, oh, you think that's bad? Oh, hold on. Hold my beer.
This is your one-up story.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know. Yeah.
And you may have more than one, so feel free to share as many as you want.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I had forgot about this till you guys brought it up, but this one I did.
Love that.
Because we always try and block those bad memories out of our heads, right?
And we love to be the comedy therapists that bring those bad memories back.
Thanks for digging it up, guys. I just got out of fucking therapy over this gig.
Oh, yeah. And then I'll tell you this one, and then I'll tell you funny ones after.
Sure.
I did a Christmas party for a construction company. It was construction company and slash.
It's already going good.
Sanitation company. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So I get there, and I was told, it's a construction company, it's a Christmas party, So I just wear a nice pair of pants, and I got a shirt and a sweater. It was obviously Christmas time.
Yeah.
It was chilly out. I get there. As soon as I get there, the guy goes, "Where's your suit?" I'm like, I don't have a suit. What do you mean you don't have a suit? You're a comedian. Everyone here is wearing suits. That's how it starts.
Oh,
and he goes,
God.
And then they start with, "You don't look funny. You better be funny." And I'm just like, oh no.
No.
So, and then the guy that was there was a band too. They had a band, and the band leader was just like, "Why aren't you wearing a suit?"
I didn't get the memo.
Everyone's asking me why I didn't wear a suit.
No one told me about the suit.
I was told it was a Christmas party, and I'm like, whatever. And then, so it just goes, all right, we're going to do this, this, and this. And he goes, they're going to serve dinner, and then we're bringing you up. And I said, you know what? Let's bring me up after dinner. That's fine. Just let's wait till after dinner. And he's like, no. You're going to go up during dinner. That's how we timed this. We timed like this. And he goes, and I go, it's not going to go that great if you do that.
Right.
And I'm trying to say, I've done a lot of these. It's never really gone well. And then the guy got furious. And I said, look, it's not going to go well. And he goes, a good comedian can make people laugh in any situation.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
So they serve the food. He insists I go up. They bring me up. Half the audience has their back turned to me because they're all at tables.
Because they're eating.
Tables.
Right.
Yep. And I get this. Oh, that was funny. Oh, that wasn't too good. That wasn't.
Oh.
And then, and I forgot. And before I hit the stage, too, a guy comes up to me and goes, "Hey, you want to make fun of somebody tonight?" And I go, No.
Yeah. Make fun of this guy. That's the guy that busted my balls about not wearing a suit.
Hey, see Jimmy the Foot over there?
Yeah, right.
Pick on him.
Yeah, the guy that owns the disposal company is a real. He loves getting his balls busted.
Yeah, and luckily, after the guy complained to the agent,
of course,
that I didn't have a suit on, that it didn't go well. So I tell the guy what happened, and he goes, "Oh," so he said the guy's threatening to not pay me, and the guy. The agent sent me a check 3 days later. I got the check.
Yep.
And I think eventually he got the money, but he knew that he was like, I believe you,
Right.
Luckily, because sometimes it doesn't go that well.
Yeah. Some agents don't, some booking agents don't understand that, but if they're good and they've dealt with this, and they've got experience, they know even the best comics have dealt with this. I mean, we've talked to hundreds of comics. Everyone has had that kind of gig. Where you you get all of a sudden you're told you're not good, and it's like it's such an ego blow. But no, I've done this. I can do this.
It's kind of funny you mentioned the Christmas party thing because I booked myself for a gig like that, and it was actually when I was meeting Ace Aceto for the first time.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh yeah, I remember
because I was only maybe a year in, maybe a year and a half in. And I go up to him, and a friend of mine worked for this company. They're having their Christmas party. They wanted a comedian. I have no concept about budgets and about booking show. I had no business trying to put this together for these people. At all. I should have referred them to someone like a John Parada,
right,
and told them just request me to be on the show, and that's it. But instead, I can put that together for you. They go, how much do you think the budget is? I haven't been paid more than $50 at this point for a show, you know. So I'm getting 25 or $50. So I think I gave them a budget of like $200 maybe for the whole show. I have no idea. So I go to Ace, and Ace goes, well, normally, Christmas
I think you
parties
offered me $100.
I forgot what it was, but it was like normally Christmas parties are, time of year where we get paid a little bit more. And, I appreciate it. And he was very nice about it. And then I asked a couple people after him, and they're like, no, I'm not doing that. He explained it to me, at least. He was very nice about it. Yeah. So somebody recommended a comedian to me. And I said, all right, we'll both do it together, and we'll split the money. Well, this other comedian goes first, and they, again, just like you said, we're going to have you perform while they eat.
Yes.
I am not experienced enough at this point to say no. This is not going to work.
You don't realize what a shit show it's going to turn into.
Because on top of it, it was family style.
Oh, that's even better.
So you're trying to perform on pass the mashed potatoes,
Hey, pass the pasta.
So this poor comedian is up there trying to do something, and they're yelling, and it's just, she's 10, maybe 15 minutes in at the probably 10 minutes in, and she just looks at me and goes, Scott, do you want me to even keep going? She says it into the microphone because they're not listening at all. So I just tell her, cut it. And I go up there, and I decided to just start going table to table with the mic and roasting the tables.
Yep.
At this point, to just try to get their attention. And that didn't even work. Just nothing worked the whole night. And they literally asked me if they could have some of the money back.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of those things, like, you'd never see people having dinner in a movie theater.
Exactly.
Right, exactly.
It would be awful.
Yeah.
So
they'd walk out and go, that movie sucked. No, you were eating through it.
So now here I am, next February is 20 years minus a year of pandemic. And when people ask me for stuff like that, I'm like, okay, I'm not going on while they're eating. I'm not doing this. These are listening.
You learn.
And if I sound like a diva, fine. But if you want to have a good show for your audience, this is what's going to happen.
I tell people right up front, I'm like, listen, comedy is not background music.
No,
it's not. Yeah. It's not like hiring someone to play the guitar in the background where you don't listen and then all of a sudden they're done with the song and you clap. You can't do that with comedy. You have to be paying attention. You have to be engaged.
I just did it 2 weeks ago. Did a dinner comedy show. They said dinner 6, comedy show at 7. Yep. At 7, they were just bringing the dinners out.
Yeah.
And I told the guy, we're not starting the show.
Yeah.
He goes, but we told them 7. I go, they're just eating. We're not going to start until they're done eating.
Yep.
And he goes, they might leave. I go, they're not going to leave.
No.
They paid for a ticket. They're not going to leave. Trust me. I said, I don't mind when you bring desserts out, starting at the moment desserts hit the table, but I'm not going to start before that because it's going to be a terrible show if we do that, and I want it to be a good show for them so we can do this again next time. Yeah. And we ended up having a great show because by the time we started the show, they were pretty much done and they were paying attention at that point. I've done this enough times to know, just trust me. You hired me for a reason.
Right.
Trust me.
Yeah. I've been brought up in the middle of a buffet. The buffet opens. And they go, a comedian comes all the way from Boston. I'm like, no.
Yeah, right.
Jack, have you ever done one where the buffet is like in the middle of the dance floor right in front of where you're performing?
Yes, yes.
What are they thinking?
I've told the story.
I did a college gig one time. People go in line at the cafeteria, so you got people walking by you.
Yeah, right. As you're trying to do show, right? Yeah. No, I've told a story before where I did a fundraiser for a local health center, and they did that where they introduced me, and right after they said, "And now your comedian tonight, he's here to entertain you, Mr. Ace Aceto." By the way, the dessert table is out in the atrium, and 450 people got up and walked out the fucking door. It was horrible. It's amazing the situations we're put in. But what was the other story? You said there was another story that you had. That was.
Oh yeah. I got two more stories.
Yeah, go ahead. See, isn't it amazing? All of a sudden, your mind starts going, and these repressed memories that you tried to push away come out.
The filing cabinets.
Yeah.
In my head, I got a Rolodex. I got a Rolodex in my head.
Poor Jack's going to be back in therapy tomorrow. He's going to be like, these motherfuckers took me out and had me on their podcast and took out all these repressed memories that they brought to the top.
And but I remember like doing colleges, and sometimes the college gigs would be sponsored by like Subway or Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
So they would have like 300 subs show up. So what would happen is the students would all come in, grab their subs, and just walk out. So the comics are doing the show, and it was just like they were only there for the food. They didn't give a shit. Of
course, yeah, they didn't give a shit about you.
Right. What was I going to tell you? Oh, when you're talking about not knowing how to do it, my buddy, who's actually a famous guy, but he gets called to do a radio show. They want him to do a weekly call-in to his hometown, and he had just got a TV show, and the show was taken off. He was doing really well, and his old station that he used to work for called and said, would you call in from LA and once a week, traffic time or whatever. And then they ask him, how much does he want? And he says, I just want a year's supply of Dunkin' Donuts coffee. So his manager goes, no, let me talk to them. Don't like that's like he had no concept of what he should ask for.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Like this drive time high-end radio station. It wasn't as good a story as I thought it was, but
no, but you're right, because we as comics are not good business people typically, so that's the kind of shit that we would do. Yeah, just give me some donkeys, some donkeys cards. Meanwhile the manager's like, no, this is worth money.
That's why agents and managers are needed in this business.
Exactly.
Because, it reminds me of the great Seinfeld episode where Kramer negotiated instead of having his lawyer do it, and all for the smoking, and instead of money, he got himself put on the Marlboro billboard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such a great episode. It's such a mirror image of what you just said. No money, just a year's supply of Dunkin' Donuts, and I'm fine. And then agent is losing his shit.
I'm just thinking of all this stuff, college stuff. It did was it Holyoke? Yeah, I think Holy Cross with Mike Donovan and Matt Malley.
Yep. Okay. Oh my God.
Okay.
So Matt goes up first, and Matt's on the stage, and then apparently he went to do something, rolled off the stage, and he fell. No. And I got my back to the stage, and Donovan goes, "Is that part of his act?" And so
and knowing Malley, he would do something like that as part of his act because he's a nut.
But he just kept going. He was laying down going, yeah, so anyway.
Oh my God. I miss that guy. I miss him so much.
You mentioned him earlier in the podcast. Mike Bent had a great college story where he talked about they hired him to perform at lunchtime during spring. Mm-hmm. Do you remember the story? They put him in a classroom near one of the lunch rooms, and nobody was coming in the room to sit and listen to him. They had a sign outside the door, comedy, free comedy, and nobody was coming in to listen. And the coordinator said, why aren't you performing? And he goes, there's nobody in here. We're paying you to perform.
Yeah.
And he goes, but there's nobody in here. And they go, well, how do you expect people to come in if they don't know there's a performance? So he had to perform in an empty classroom
just to get paid,
just to try to get people to draw people in so he could get paid, or they weren't going to pay him.
Right.
Wow. I did a show one time. Like 5 people showed up. Yeah. That was it, the audience. And I said, what do you want to do? You want to cancel? And the guy running it goes, no, do the show. I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you serious? So I ended up sitting at the table.
Yeah.
And just telling stories. And I had to do that to get paid. Otherwise, they weren't going to pay me.
Bob Seibel and I had the same thing happen at the Grill 93. You remember Ronnie? He would Ronnie, but you know what? To his credit, Didn't matter. We were in the middle of a snowstorm. 5 people showed up. He's like, we can cancel the show, but you're not going to get paid. But if you do the show, you'll get paid. Bob Seibel and I literally sat at the table with these 5 people up front in the small room and just did the show, and we got paid.
Same thing. I was with Harrison Stebbins, and they told us except I beat you both. We had 2 people. There was one couple that showed up. It was a Wednesday night show, and Harrison's like, "You're just going to give them passes to come back, right?" And the manager at the club's like, "No. If you want to get paid, you got to do the show." And he goes, "There's 2 fucking people here."
Wow.
And she goes, "I don't care." He goes, "Just pay us half and cancel the show."
Yep.
That's what you do. And I'm like, really? I'm going to get $12.50 for this?
Yeah, right.
But because I was hosting that weekend, this was early on. I'm like, whatever. And she goes, "No, nothing if you don't do the show." Right. So he goes, "Fine, we're doing a show." And he comes up to me and he goes, "You're not going to stand on stage and tell jokes for 2 people." He goes, "Literally go up there. Don't even take the mic out.
Right.
Just climb." He goes, just climb down, sit at their table, talk to them, and tell them a couple of, funny stories and make them laugh.
Yep.
And then say, "Hey, I'm going to bring my friend Harrison out to talk to you guys now." And just say, "Harrison, come on out and talk to these guys." He goes, "Don't even do like an intro."
Yep.
And we did it, and we got paid. But it was so weird and awkward at the time.
Right.
But now, years later, I get totally what he was doing in that moment. It was so weird. Again, it goes back to our episode of, the how strange they try to squeeze comedy in, or they think comedy's going to work.
They think it'll fit anywhere.
We don't need much as comedians. Give me a spotlight so there's a focal point. Give me a microphone
so they can hear me.
And so people are paying attention to me, and that's pretty much it. I'll handle the rest. I can't be in a room where the TVs are on. I can't be in a room, where there's, tons of things going on. Give me some kind of sound system and a focal point. I'll make it work.
Right.
I'll make it work from there. That's
Yeah.
what I really need.
I'm sending you a message. Can I take a minute? Can you give me a minute? And I'll come right back.
Yeah, sure. Oh, you sent me the message. You already got to pee?
Yes. Exactly.
We're gonna wrap up anyway,
wrap
Jack.
up.
We're pretty much done at this point.
We usually wrap up the show at this point anyway, but
yeah, we're good at this point anyway, Jack.
Can I tell you the story?
Yeah.
So I opened for I get called to open for Joan Jett.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
At Plymouth Memorial. This was probably 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And the guy, I get there and I meet Joan Jett for like a second, and then the lights go down and you hear the crowd going nuts. Guy hands me a cordless mic, the curtains open, and he goes, "No gay jokes."
That's it. Yeah.
And then I go, "They know there's a comic?" No. So I walk out, the crowd goes nuts. They see me and they go, "Huh?"
Yeah. What's this?
Yep. There you go.
So I took like 3 minutes to go, "Look, I'm a comic. I'm up here for 30 minutes. Joan's coming out here. Can we do this?" And it went well, but it was just the most bizarre.
But you had to explain yourself to them. Right. Exactly.
Yes, I wasn't intro to nothing. Just like they thought Joan was coming out.
And that's the thing. That was one of the things.
2 of them.
It's going to be a bad gig when you're opening for a musical act and when the audience.
Actually, three things he said. They're opening for a musical act, when they don't intro you, and when the audience doesn't know there's going to be comedy.
Right. Yeah. Those are 3 of the 12 right there, buddy. You got one quarter.
One gig, you hit 3 of the 12.
3 out of the 12, exactly. Listen, man, we really appreciate you being on, and we'd love to have you on again. If once you get to pee, we'll have you on
Another
again
time.
and tell more stories another time.
I had a blast. This is so much fun. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Definitely.
Anytime, man. Is there anything that we could promote for you, the social media or anything like that?
No, it's funny. I'm doing a fun gig on Wednesday, but it's already sold out on the 11th.
Good for you.
Where?
I'm doing they're doing a fundraiser for Wayne Previty's family. Wayne died last August. At the Box Center. It's basically
Ernie Bach.
Bill Burr. It's Bill Burr and me, Joey Carroll, Bob Carney, Mike Pryor, I think John David. Like Burr was trying to make it like the 99 and Bill Ricker days. I don't know if you guys ever did that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, I'm excited to do it, but it's just I don't know what. Yeah, Well, this Friday I'm doing the Fox and Hound with McHugh and Quincy.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
That's awesome. Well, listen, folks, find Jack Lynch on social media. You can find him anywhere. Just type in Jack Lynch comedian. You'll find him. He's on Facebook. He's on. Are you on Instagram?
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Yeah,
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Great guy, very, very funny guy, and we'll definitely have him back on again.
Yeah,
I'd love to have you on a panel show because we love to do these panel shows where we talk about different topics and get a bunch of comics to just kind of like spitball and talk about it. And eventually, we do want to start getting out there and doing like some of these shows where we're doing like a panel show, but in a restaurant where we're all
live in person.
Around. We've done a couple of them where we're just sitting around and shooting the shit and you know having a meal and just chilling out. So we'll definitely get you on one of those as well if you're interested.
That sounds great. Definitely sounds
all right, man. Well, listen, we know
too.
We do too. Yeah, we know your bladder is full, but thanks so much for being on tonight, man.
Thank you, Jack. It was a blast.
Thank
you so much, man.
We'll talk to you soon. All right. And that was Jack Lynch. Awesome. I was so
awesome
happy
guy.
to have him on. He's been on the wish list for a long time. And just, didn't reach out. And then all of a sudden you were like, I worked with Jack Lynch the other day. And I was like, shit, he's on my list of people to reach out to. It was perfect.
Fortuitous and timing was everything. That I got to work with him and had, I mentioned it to him that night and it worked out. So
that's awesome. Good. And you know what? I didn't even get to go through any of the comments. So I want to go through some of the comments that came through. Yeah. While we were talking to Jack, I just wanted to go through them. So our friend Jen said hi. And then our friend Robin, who is Gemini Scribe 68. If Jefferson's isn't coming through for you, I dropped them.
I know, but they're so good.
Find another bourbon company that might be nice to you.
I know, they taste so good.
And then Jen said Jefferson's is good. But Gemini Scribe 68 might be right. There are other bourbons that could sponsor.
We might have to start testing some.
Yeah, we'll have to. And then Robin said, "Ding ho, Jimmy Tingle. Why does this sound filthy to me?"
Good point.
And then you responded back. You might be right. Our buddy Vin Giacavone. Greetings and salutations. Granted, I don't have my glasses on, but looking quick, Jack kind of looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger when I made the twins joke.
And anybody that doesn't know, our buddy Vin Giacavone is the creator of the Live from the Aceman.
Yes. And it's amazing how many of our guests have said, how do you guys get that light on the poster to light up?
You'd have to ask Vinny.
Yeah, I don't know how the hell he did it.
Vinny is an amazing artist.
It actually
who came
works
up with
really well.
Bulb.
Robin said, I'm the oldest of two. I didn't turn out so great either. Jen's
I love it, Robin. I think you turned out fine.
Yeah, Jen says, I hear Pappy Van Winkle is good.
Well, that
you said I'll have to try it, which is bullshit because we did try it. So here's a little story. When we hit our 100th episode or 150th. It was a special episode.
No, it was after we had 20,000 downloads for the first time.
Oh, okay. After we had 20,000 downloads, we went to the cigar bar that I belong to, the Gentleman's Cigar Bar in Cranston, Rhode Island, and they had Pappy, and we tried it.
And it was good.
And we had the lowest. We had the 10-year. We had the 10-year,
which is the lowest of it because there's the 10, the 15, and the 23.
Yeah, but here's the thing: the 10-year was what,
$52 for a 2-ounce pour.
$52, and we figured, you know what, you only live once, let's try it. And honestly, we were both like, it's good, but it ain't worth 52. And we both immediately had an Angel's Envy right after, which was fantastic. So,
and this past weekend, I took my nephew out.
Yep,
the son I never had. And he's a huge bourbon drinker. And we went to another cigar bar, and they had Pappy Van Winkle.
Yep.
And he's like, oh my God, they have Pappy Van Winkle. And I said, okay, I'm only doing this because you're getting married.
Yep.
I said, I can only afford the 10-year. I can't afford the others. But if you want
I love you, but not that much.
If you want it, I'll get you the 10-year pour because you're getting married.
Yep.
And he goes, okay, so we each got the 10-year pour. I'll be honest with you, I was less impressed the second time than I was the first time. The first time we had it, I was like, that's not bad. The second time I was like, it's not even as good as it was the first time.
I have tried. So honestly, I like, and I hate to keep harping on it, I like Jefferson's very small batch for $37
I would take Jefferson's Ocean over Pappy Van Winkle.
Easily. And you need to cut that clip and send it to the fucking people at Jefferson's.
Ocean is the smoothest,
it really is,
tastiest bourbon I have ever had. Angel's Envy's right up there too. Don't get me wrong.
I love Angel's
because
Envy too.
My oldest daughter took me out to dinner Monday night. Excuse me. It was just the two of us. So she said, "I'll take you out." The place we went to, they had Angel's Envy, so I got one, and it was delicious.
I love
just as good.
I love it. Yeah,
Angel's Envy. Ocean,
and Jefferson's,
right there, top two.
Absolutely. Hold on. Our friend Robin said, always love Greg Giraldo, one of my favorites.
yeah.
Our friends on the channel, Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling, said, love this show. Hold on.
You got to pull a Robin. Yeah,
I'm getting there. Ryan Gartley, everyone's got a great Cybele story.
Hey, Ryan.
Jack has some serious green room tales. You know what? We haven't had Ryan on, have we?
No, we have not.
And he's another favorite of ours.
I love
great
Ryan.
Friend. I'm going to reach
Ryan.
out to you after the show, Ryan. I want to get you on the schedule maybe in September. So definitely.
Ryan's a great comic from up north.
And then Robin, $52 for 2 ounces. You can buy crack for that. I love it. And then Jen, our friend Jen Scott, way to already blow the Pappy Van Winkle sponsorship. LMFAO, that's awesome.
I don't think they would have sponsored us anyway. Jen.
Well, we could cut that out. But Angel's Envy, I would definitely reach out to them because I love them too.
They're fantastic.
Yeah,
they make a great bourbon and a beautiful presentation.
I'm not gonna lie. I felt a little bit guilty every time I took a sip, knowing that Jack, went into recovery and is a recovery specialist and stuff.
Well, when you first
I felt like
brought
a
him
dick
on,
going like, "Oh yeah, tell me more about the recovery." And I'm like,
when you first brought him on, he goes, "Are you guys sponsored by a bourbon?" I was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, I know. No, but Jack, a great guy. We loved having him on, and I'm serious. I'd love to get him on one of the panel shows.
He would be very good at that.
Great
and I meant what
insight.
I said. If you ever get a chance to see Jack Lynch, what's very good about him is he is like that old school style of very smooth on stage, delivers the punchlines very well.
We didn't talk about it, but during COVID, he was doing these short videos of, I think it was called like brick wall, in front of the brick wall jokes. And it was one-liner jokes in front of literally on the street in front of a brick wall.
He's great at those. Just laugh.
Yep.
Just really good at it. So, but I'm glad he came on, and I'm glad you guys joined us tonight.
Thank you so much.
Hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for telling a friend. Thank you for the 5-star review.
5-star written reviews.
Written reviews
doesn't even have to be a paragraph. Just, hey,
quick
love
sentence.
this show. Whatever you want to say about us. So we really appreciate it. And listen, we've got a great August lined up. Next week, we've got Paul Bond, who Scott's mentioned before. He went on tour with Jim Brewer. He was Jim Brewer's guitar player. The following week, on the 18th, we have radio legend and comedy legend. Rob Bartlett is going to be on the 25th. We have our buddy Joe Hebert coming back on, who hasn't been on in a while, and he's going to be talking a little bit. We've had him on about his career, but we've never had him on to talk about the Rhode Island Comedy Hall of Fame.
No.
And they are going to be having an induction of a new Rhode Island Comedy Hall of Fame member in September.
Yeah.
So
we can get to the nitty gritty of that, about who they've inducted, about, how he came up with the idea, and, the whole thing with that. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, so that's going to be great. And then I've already started to line up September and October.
And then I'll be out for the month of October.
For our spooktacular for October, I reached out to one of the people on my wish list already tonight. And I'm going to be talking to someone else on our wish list. And I texted someone else on our wish list. So October hopefully will be a great
giant
month.
wish list.
Yes, it will be a giant wish list. And you know, I gotta book something because on the 20th of October, I'm gonna be away in Florida. So I need to book a really scary one for that one so that it's just Scott and a scary guest. That's gonna be great.
Oh, we can take a week off.
Oh, I love it. Wait, hold on. Very enjoyable. I look forward to Wednesday nights. Thanks so much, Robin. We love you.
Jen, we don't need your help.
Jen goes scary Scott-tober.
Jen, seriously, Jen?
Jen, if you know any scary, like paranormal stuff or any guests that you could think of that we can get on, that would be fantastic. We cross over every October into the paranormal realm, and it's going to be awesome. We've already lined up Tom Stewart. I texted Jason Hawes. He's still on the road right now, but hopefully he's back in October. And I just messaged Dave Naughton from American Werewolf in London.
Do we have to have
tonight.
a fucking name for October now?
Yeah, it's Scottober. That's going to be awesome. I cannot wait. So listen, we're already running an hour and a half, but this was a great episode. I'm so glad that Jack was able to come on. Thank you so much for everyone who listened, everyone who watched. And other than that, we will see you
next week.